Don't let your decision paralysis demon keep you from watching something great this weekend. Subscribe to ScreamShare, the newsletter that serves up a 5-minute breakdown of the best horror available on streaming. I'll have essential weekly movie picks covering new films, classics that you need to catch up on, and a movie that's always streaming for free. So subscribe now, and you can even be part of some frighteningly fun watch parties we're putting together that'll let you be part of the conversation. So click in the link in the show notes or go to screamshare.beehive.com. That's screamshare.beehive.com, and make sure you whitelist your welcome email so you can get updates for all of the news and updates. And now the body count continues. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right. We're talking about Psycho 3. Count them. On Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from a little place we like to call the Bates Motel. This is the Kill by Kill podcast where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And today, oh boy, we're going to unpack all the goriest details of 1986's Psycho 3 in the hopes that a unfortunate motel parishioner their untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to tell me where the good unoccupied bathrooms in this motel are. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just sitting here chilling with your mom's decaying corpse next to me. looking way too casual about it. Yes.
And assuming nothing bad is going to happen to you as a result of this. Duke, we'll get into it, but Duke has a reservoir of self-confidence that I don't know is warranted.
Yeah, he is literally the definition of Lord, give me the confidence of a mediocre white man.
He does have those eyes. He does have that swimmer's build that he has.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, like, as opposed to one of Norman's nemesis in Psycho 2, which is the middle-aged, sleazy Dennis Franz. Right. Here we have the young, sexy, but still sleazy Jeff Fahey.
We have to, I think, get into it during the course of this. Begin to understand what kind of person is attracted to the Bates Motel as a hub. Because it does seem to have a type of individual.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I don't want to scare you, Gina, but we're not alone. That's right. We have a special guest. Now, you may know him as one of the hosts of Fun with Horror, the most wholesome horror movie podcast in the entire world, where two long-distance best friends stay in touch by taking turns choosing horror movies for each of them to watch and discuss. You know him. You love him. The one, the only, Scotty Cross. How are you doing today, Scotty?
Hello, and thank you for having me on. I'm busy cleaning room 12 right now.
Oh, good. Because it is a fucking mess in that place.
I can't believe what they've done to it.
Between the events, which are, according to the movie, a month or two between Psycho 2 and Psycho 3.
Yeah, that corpse is rotten.
What? Did they store it next to open fruit? What the fuck is happening? You know when you put bananas next to, a pineapple you're trying to ripen, you're like, holy shit, what happened to my bananas? Like it starved its youthfulness.
Yeah, I forgot that. I had assumed it had been years, and I'm like, wait a minute, this was months?
Yes, that's what I don't understand why they feel the need to make it so fast when not only does the corpse of Mom 2 rot so very, very quickly, but also things have gone to hell. Like I touched base with Psycho 2 before this, and Scotty, I think you watched both of them back to back. But
I did.
There's a vast difference between the interior of the Bates house and the exterior of the Bates Motel. Like he had painted in Psycho 2, and this looks like it's been through hell and a half.
Yeah, it's basically turned into like a crack den before crack dens, but we're barely a thing.
It's on the bleeding edge of crack den technology.
That's the interesting thing, because in Psycho 2, it was a crack den before Norman came back to it. But now in Psycho 3, when he's supposedly cleaned it up a bit, it looks even more like a crack den.
It just, something about it wants to be a crack den, even if he's trying to change it. But like the difference between the condition of his kitchen and Psycho 2, which is almost sparse. Everything is on shelves. Everything is up off the table. And then he cranks one old lady over the head with a shovel and he's like, fuck it, I don't clean up anymore.
Yeah, I guess he's like he's like a sort of reliving his rebellious teen years. And it's like, fuck you, mom. And like, just like not picking up after himself, just letting any old people, stay at the Bates Motel.
Yeah, there's he doesn't say it out loud, but there is an energy to him of that Key and Peele sketch of shut up, mom, quiet, enough from you. It is an energy off of him here where he's had enough, because old mom was one thing, but this new one, she tends to move around a lot. I don't remember the previous mom being as mobile as this one.
No, I mean, she looks like a dried apple, but she is still spry.
She is popping up out of bed. She turns over. She has an Annabelle energy to her that I kind of enjoyed.
Well, to be fair, in the original Psycho, mom was a reveal at the end. So she may have moved around a lot as well, and we just didn't see it.
That's true. Right. They're hiding the weenie on that one. So, Scotty, what is your history with the Psycho franchise? Was this your first time going through 2, 3, or had you done that before?
As far as I remember, 2, I saw back in the 80s when I was a teenager and getting into horror movies. I believe my dad showed it to me, and I'm pretty sure I actually saw 2 before I ever saw Psycho 1.
Right.
And I never saw Psycho 2 since then until this week. But I've seen Psycho now, quite a few times. It's amazing. Yeah. And then Psycho 3, this was my first time watching Psycho 3.
Yeah, it is an interesting transition. They are quite different, even just separated by 3 years here of production. How different the approaches are, and yet both the filmmakers involved, the person behind Psycho 2 and Anthony Perkins, who directs 3, their philosophies of how to approach honoring Hitchcock are wildly different. And I think I found some stuff to identify why. Gina, I know your deal with Psycho 2. We're both huge fans. When was this your first time with Psycho 3, or had you crossed?
Oh no, I'd seen it before. It's another one of those movies that seemed to be on cable all the time for a little while. So I'm sure I must have caught it probably somewhere around 87 or 88 and watched it a couple times. This was the first time I had watched it in certainly this century.
Yeah.
It has been a long time. Like I said, I had certainly remembered things, there being a longer time jump between 2 and 3. And I was genuinely shocked when it was supposed to be like a month.
Right. Yeah.
The time work differently here?
It's entirely possible. I just think they're going for a different vibe. And one of the things that I had discovered in doing research on this was they kind of lured Anthony Perkins back with they dangled the carrot of, you can direct this one. And he had been looking for something to direct as a pivot point in his career to kind of do something different. He was going to get a decent, payday here as an actor because Universal needed a hit. I'll get into that in a minute. But one of the things that really lit a fire underneath him was, A, he liked the script inexplicably, and I'm not entirely sure why. But 2, he saw a little movie called Blood Simple by the Coen brothers. And this lit a creative fire within him. He's like, I want to carry this aesthetic into a Psycho movie. And there are many moments within this movie where you're like, once you make that connection, you're like, oh yeah, this is very blood simple.
Certainly, like, you know, the fact that he used Carter Burwell to do the score for it, who to this day continues to work with the Coen brothers. I can certainly see that he was trying for that. Whether he was successful, I think that is questionable. But I can see where he's trying for it.
I mean, when he throws the Patsy character, who mother slices the neck of, and he disposes of the body by getting her out the window, and he throws the body where the head just lands right in front of the camera. That's an extremely Coen brothers like move. He screened Blood Simple for the crew before making the movie. He's like, this is what I'm going for. And then he put that in a blender with a bunch of other Hitchcock movies on top of it.
And also, it's important to point out, and this is more turning to his acting in it, this was an interesting period in Anthony Perkins' career, where he was starting to like not get really good parts anymore.
Yeah.
So he kind of went into a period where he was playing the most off-the-cuff characters you could find in your entire life. Have you ever seen a movie called Crimes of Passion, Patrick?
Oh, yes. I'm scarred from my viewing of Crimes
and there was
of Passion.
also a movie where he played a Jekyll and Hyde type character. And I don't know if acting showcase would be the phrase I would use for any of these movies, but he is sort of unleashed in them.
Mm-hmm.
And sweating and screaming and just like he's just, he's having fun, but, I think that, him directing this also gave him an opportunity to kind of let his freak flag fly in that regard.
Sure. I think he was looking for opportunities and trying to stretch. And certainly the Norman he gets to play here is transformative from what he was trying to do within the I'm cured now version of him in Psycho 2, or I'm hiding in the original. So he's getting to do more stuff. In the background of this, though, I just want to note that Universal at the time, you have to wonder, like, yes, Psycho 2 makes money, right? It was a 7-time multiplier. It cost $5 million to make, ends up making nearly 35. But like, why go back to it? And I think it just comes down to almost everyone else in town was making money on horror movies, and Universal wasn't. They had tried, and they'd had a couple decent hits, but they'd also had some big flameouts. And prior to this, 85, they have one of the biggest years they've ever had at the studio, with movies like Breakfast Club, Fletch, Back to the Future, Weird Science. And then at the end of the year, they have Out of Africa, which is not only a huge financial hit, but then runs the table inexplicably at the Oscars. And if you've ever watched it, you're going to wonder fucking why, because it is boring as hell.
I was going to say it is a very effective sleeping pill. It is pretty in places, but not exactly a compelling watch.
And the following year, that flush with money, they're like, well, you wait till you see the lineup we got. And it is just one of the worst years in the studio's record. Let's just run down very quickly the list of terrible mistakes they made. They have a comedy called The Best of Times, which is mid at best.
Oof.
The Money Pit, which is a big Amblin movie that is dead on arrival. You have Legend, which is gorge to look at, but makes $1.01. That's
a crime. That's a crime. I'm sorry. I have a lot of affection for that movie.
It made $1.01 from me for sure.
Exactly.
It didn't even make its budget back. So for whatever reason, they just couldn't get people to the theater to see it. Then in June of that year, it is the follow-up to Ghostbusters, Legal Eagles, which is as boring and unfun as Out of Africa, for a follow-up to Ghostbusters. It is terrible. So that is the movie that Psycho 3 has a teaser trailer in front of. So no one knows it's coming out. July 4th weekend. It is DOA.
Did they honestly think that the audience that was coming out for Legal Eagles was the same audience that was going to come out for Psycho 3?
I think they just wanted to announce that it was there. And it was a completely bloodless trailer. It is literally, they're trying to do the Hitchcock thing by just showing the director walking up the stairs and turning to camera. And then the tagline of Norman is back, but mother is off her rocker. And then title card. And you're like, okay, sure. Why not? I might also add, a month later, they released Howard the Duck.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh my God. One of my favorite movies of all time.
I will go to the grave, at least claiming, I think the special effects in Howard the Duck are really cool to look at. I think it's some of the best cartoon lightning you're ever going to see in your life. But it is a wonder how anyone thought that was going to fly with audiences. It has cult movie written all over it because the character is a cult character and they don't even translate it correctly.
No, but I will say I saw Howard the Duck in theaters 5 times because as a young Scotty, I didn't know what a bad movie was.
Sure.
And I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then in terms of so where's horror at this moment in time? Because horror in 86, you're having quite a interesting summer. You have Poltergeist 2, which arrives in May and does okay-ish, but certainly nothing compared to the size of hit that the original was. Then in July, you have Psycho 3, which it does not even make, I think it's a 1.5 multiplier. It doesn't lose a ton, but it doesn't really make anything. But mere weeks later, Aliens arrives. Ooh. And Aliens runs the fucking table for 3 weeks. Pretty much flattening Maximum Overdrive, which is DOA, and Friday the 13th Part 6, one of the better entries, but people don't fucking care because why would I go see that when I can see Aliens, a movie that not only made money, but ended up being nominated for Oscars. And of course, the trailer in front of every showing of Aliens is for Cronenberg's The Fly, which comes out in August and also runs the table for much of August, to the point where it hits September and they start pairing these two up as a double feature, an advertised double feature in which a xenomorph hand and a Cronenberg fly hand are holding tickets for each of their movies in front of a box office.
I thought you were going to say they were clenching,
holding hands, going on a date,
bicep, or no, like the Predator, like you son of a bitch.
That would have been fantastic, but Predator was
had not actually come out yet.
But that would have been great. Or making that heart thing where two people make 2 hands of a heart and put it up together. Oh, someone make that in a t-shirt. Okay. But that does so well that it flattens Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So horror has a very big year, but it does seem to be like Fox was dialed into what people wanted, and they presented it with filmmakers who had big voices and they were taking big swings, and Psycho 3 kind of falls under the sway of that, But, everyone else in town has Fox, that's a remake and a sequel. So everyone else is making real money with horror, and Universal's like, Psycho 3? So yeah, they develop Psycho 3 after 2 does as well as it does, with a couple different treatments for potential sequels, including Robert Bloch trying again to make one of his weirdo sequels. And finally, they have a script from Charles Edward Pogue, who had one hell of an 86, because guess the other script he has a credit on for that year, Cronenberg's The Fly.
So it was definitely a win some, lose some year.
It really, really was. Now, granted, Cronenberg really reworks that script into something that's, Cronenberg. But there's a lot to that movie that comes out of him, which is why his name's still on the screenplay. But yeah, Perkins gets lured back with an offer that he can direct, and he's really itching to do it. And then I found this quote from him that says, "I really liked how wild the script was, how tight it was at the same time. It was a perfect blend of reasonable and unreasonable. I'd always been looking for a project to direct with which I would have some affinity with the subject and the characters. And I felt that this was a good script for an unknowing director to take on because the scenes were so well written, they directed themselves." And to quote the bard, Joel Hodgson, I don't know.
As like I said before we started recording, it's curiously more convoluted than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yet also like kind of just there at the same time. It essentially just undoes everything that happens in Psycho 2.
And yet it seemed wildly indebted to it because a big theme of it is, when you first see the Bates home, there's a paperback, a brown, a faded copy of Belly of the Beast sitting on what used to be the lawn. And everyone in town is still looking for the woman who came into his house and said, "I'm actually your real mom," and gets shoveled in the back of the head. And one of the best deaths we have ever covered on the show.
The best. Love it so much. My favorite of all time.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think this movie is really visually interesting, and Perkins is trying to do a lot of stuff to both reference Hitchcock and wow you a little, but he has almost no modulation for what the performers are doing on screen.
Yes.
The tone of each performance is wildly inconsistent and unhinged, but never at the same type. Fahey is going full Fahey. That he has turned it up to 11 here, and it's not unfun to watch. Then you have Diana Scarwood, who, she is at this point, the previous year had been nominated for an Oscar, and that's coming off the back of what she had done in Mommy Dearest. So she had a type of performance, and there's a lot of time here where you feel like this is regional theater kind of over the top, where she's unaware that the camera's there.
Yeah, she's kind of like, she's doing like she's watched Meg Tilly's performance in 2.
Right.
And said, how can I got to do that, but weirder.
Right. And she has a legitimately weirder character.
And when you manage to out weird Meg Tilly, that's impressive.
And then I think Perkins is just so comfortable with Norman Bates that he's sometimes kind of disconnected with the meter of the film that he's making. Like, he's still giving the same kind of performance that's of Hitchcock Psycho and of Psycho 2, but the movie he's making is weirdly and wildly larger and weirder, and he just kind of seems out of place in it, like he's a factor that he didn't account for. His performance has not changed, nor should it, but I don't think the rest of the movie is in any way connected to that vibe.
It's sort of like Norman versus the Youths.
It is, yes. Or just him versus the normies. Or like it's
yes and no.
This comes out the same year as Chainsaw 2, which also kind of has this vibe. This was floating in the air, that this was what people wanted when they went to a horror movie, and you're kind of like, they did.
Yeah, but it's like the normies, but also the normies are like, the local scumbags around town.
Yes. Well, this town just seems to be, it is a magnet. It is attracting the weirdest, grossest people.
Yeah, well, it's you're supposed to get that these are all like Marion Crane to an extent, people who are trying to escape something, transients, either just outright criminals or people who've gotten themselves into some sort of trouble. And like a magnet, this crappy little depressing town just sort of draws them to it.
Absolutely true. And that brings us to the Perkins' driving factor when he's taking the reins behind the camera here, which is he was never particularly a fan of how Franklin handles the Hitchcock homage in 2, which I find odd because I personally like Franklin's take a lot more. It's not to say that I dislike this movie. I think it might not be good, but it might be great candidate. Whereas Franklin delivers a legitimately great movie because not only does it feel of a piece with the original, but it exists within this sort of odd gray wash that is attempting to mimic the black and white of the original. Whereas Perkins, he's like holding up a funhouse mirror to the original, one that just consistently acknowledges the cultural and cinematic impact of that film. But also he's adding in a bunch of other Hitchcock references on top of that. I mean, right away from minute 1, you're getting a Vertigo homage with a clock tower and looking down and someone falls down the center of it. It is straight out of Vertigo. But then you get all these other shots that are like from Strangers on a Train and Dial M for Murder. And all of a sudden you get these crazy, colorful 50s and 60s. What does Technicolor do? Like shots where he's often employing green gel washes from Vertigo, but then he has like the purple from Duke's Sex Light Show at one point. He's splashing pastels of peach and purple and pink on the wall in various other scenes. And it's like, okay, this is just wildly visually different. And he's going for something. I just don't know that it always works.
The movie lacked a lot of subtlety. And
yes,
the first moment that I noticed that was in the car with Duke and Maureen. And I was sitting there thinking, I feel like there's some really good acting going on here, but it's being overshadowed by very loud overdubs and ADR.
Yeah.
And the rain effects and everything. And I felt like that through the whole movie. I felt like every moment where there could have been some really cool subtleties going on, Anthony Perkins just went for it and he just went over the top. And that's what probably my biggest issue with the movie was, besides its confusion at times.
Yeah, I agree that again, at the risk of using a word I use a lot here, he made some capital C choices.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, other than to, presumably prove himself as a first-time director.
Well, I think a lot of first-time directors get an opportunity, right? And they have a lot of ideas, and they don't know if they're ever going to get that opportunity again. So what they bring to the table are all those ideas. How can I'm going to just make this an avenue for my ideas. And I can't say that it's wrong necessarily for Psycho 3, the script and story.
Well, yeah, it's fine to take a different approach to each movie. It's fine. I'm just not sure. I mean, I am hardly the first person to say this, but the reason why Psycho is so effective is because it is understated.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's just like, constant shit happening. And it's like, okay, you got to give your audience, a minute to just parse what they've just seen and what's just happened.
And, Franklin's movie just has an equally simple story to tell with a different kind of twist. And he amps up the violence and he brings in actors who know how to go big when the moment calls for them, but really does modulate it to a certain degree. And it just feels of a piece. Now, Psycho 3, you transition from Jerry Goldsmith's aping of Bernard Herrmann to now Carter Burwell, who just drops everything Psycho. Like, it's just not a component he was asked to replicate, and he has no desire to do it. And he delivers a soundtrack that feels very of a piece with that moment, coming post Beverly Hills Cop and Fletch, where someone brings an electronic score.
Yeah,
and
I don't
that
know.
theme is repeated.
I don't know that the Psycho series needed synthesizers,
and yet they released an electronic version of the main theme of this movie, Gina, as a single, as if it was Axel F or Fletch's theme. And
the theme from Miami Vice.
Yes, this was something that was in the air, that this was what people wanted out of their pop culture. And so Burwell laces the Psycho 3 theme from moment one to the last minute in so many different ways, including Anthony Perkins playing it on a piano, including a honky-tonk version that plays in a bar, and an old-timey version that plays on a radio. It is repeated. When the partiers are, the homecoming partiers have something on the radio, it is the same theme done in a different way. So, like, they're going for shit. They're really going for it. But it works in some moments, and other moments you're like, but this also just doesn't feel like you're in the same universe. I don't know that you need to ape it, but, you know, Goldsmith does a really good job in Psycho 2 of like towing that line, and Burwell just is going for something different. So if you like different, I have a copy of Psycho 3 for you to buy off of me. I don't know. I bought it as part of a set. I think I had it on DVD too, because I had everything from Universal on DVD at one point. I just want to say, for the record, because I do love to see what contemporary reviewers gave it at the time. I didn't go too deep because it didn't get the greatest of reviews. But of course, I checked in with our two faves. Roger Ebert gave the film a thumbs up, saying it was, quote, much better than part 2, and added, whoa, in his first directing effort, Perkins shows that he knows Norman better than anyone else. Whereas Gene Piscataway Siskel gave the film a thumbs down, stating he was turned off by some of the violence, but not all. And that the film, quote, just sort of lay there. And I just find it just incredible that both these men were both so wrong about this movie, sitting opposite one another on the aisle.
Yeah, I was going to say that I refuse to even contemplate the idea that this could be better than 2.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I didn't hate it either.
It doesn't just lay there. That's for sure.
Lay there. I mean, like, if anything, the problem is that it doesn't lay down enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't stop for a minute.
It is very over the top from minute one. I mean, not many movies have the confidence to start with a woman's disembodied voice crying out, "There is no God," which I think was a vocal stim that they played at horror trivia once. Scotty, were you there for that?
Maybe. I don't remember, because I wouldn't have recognized it at the times, having not seen Psycho 3.
Yeah.
So,
but it has been something that people have used in music since. But we have Maureen Coyle, MC, and she is a nun or novice, really, who's lost her faith, and she's taking it really well. So she's climbed up to the top of a bell tower of this nunnery, and she's threatening to throw herself off. And so a whole host of nuns they climb the bell tower to try to talk her out of it. One grabs her arm, and Maureen yanks it back. And of course, that nun, Mother Superior, takes a full ass backwards fall, cranking her head on the bell just for funzos, and goes all the way to the bottom through a railing to her death several stories below. And then we are slammed into opening credits, where Maureen literally wanders the desert alone. Do you not know what the fuck roads are? When she finally hits a road, she's like, There are roads out here? Of course there are. There was a road at the bottom of the bell tower you tried to fucking throw yourself from.
She kind of acts like she was hatched from an egg in the nunnery.
Yeah.
Like a fully grown adult woman, but like just has no idea of how anything or anyone works.
Later on in the movie, she does, to a different priest, kind of reveal a bit of her backstory, that she was never really in charge of her life. She was never allowed to make decisions for herself, that she was, sent to as a novice to this nunnery against her will. And every time she makes a decision for herself, people get hurt. And you're like, okay, I can get it. But also, maybe the reason why people get hurt is because you don't understand how gravity and roads work. But when she does reach this road, that is when she is picked up by Duke. And Duke, of course, played by the one, the only Jeff Fahey, who is at full Fahey here.
Yeah, if you want to see Jeff Fahey without a shirt on, consider yourself paid in full, because I'm pretty sure he, is more on screen more often without a shirt than with one.
Yes. If you want to see him only covering his dick with a lamp, where did he find purple gels? This is what I'm wondering. Where do you go out in this town to find purple gels for your lamps so that you can create your porn magazine montages on the wall?
I just like that was the most important thing about him having a place to crash and a job. It's like I got to put in my porn installation.
I'm working on mixed media that's all just porn, but it doesn't seem to stop any of the women that he brings back to Cabin 12 from getting with him. He just seems to have. I guess it's good that he looks like Jeff Fahey, because if he looked any other way, I don't think he would be as lucky in, well, I won't call it love, but, casual sex.
But also, like, where is he finding these women?
He's finding them at that shitty little bar where nothing is happening. And the only thing on the jukebox is the Psycho 3 theme from Carnivalesque.
It's like, God damn it! Can we put some Randy Travis or something on here?
Just what? Like, it's that and the buckwheat version of Wookin' Panub in all the wrong places, and it was like Psycho 3 theme again. Yeah, it's pretty wild. They are caught in an immediate Psycho level downpour, and of course, Duke pulls over, because this is now an excuse for him to sexually assault this newly hatched chick of a woman who, in addition to deserts, heights, and roads, does not understand how sex works. I don't know what he's going to get out of it, but I don't think it's going to be fun. He does get away with one really good line, which is once he shoves her out of the car, he says, too bad, honey. You could have been coming instead of going. And you're like, all right, notch one for Duke.
I'm dubious of that. I don't think that Duke cares very much about a woman's pleasure.
Do not, no. And we don't get that impression later on when he does find someone to agree to have sex with him. His charm does not work on everyone. Reporter Tracy, played with a kind of newspaper moxie from the 40s and 50s by Roberta Maxwell. She's just a lady who aggressively sticks her nose in where it doesn't belong. And it is weird that they present a character whose entire point of this is she's going to learn the truth. The thing is, we know the truth. So what's the point of her?
Someone has to be the bearer of the new twist in all this, yeah. Which again kind of undoes the twist from the last one.
If you're wondering, does Sheriff Hunt come back? Of course, Hugh Gillen is filling out every inch of that sheriff's uniform in this movie. Hugh Gillen returns from Psycho 2. And at one point, he takes handfuls of ice out of an ice machine and begins plugging them into his mouth, which apparently they melt instantly because the amount of ice cubes he's taking in are voluminous. He's got 30 cubes of ice in his mouth, and then he reaches back in and grabs bloody ice and puts it in. And here's the thing about blood. It does taste like something.
Yeah, it's like, did I put a penny in my mouth?
It is highly copperific, and you're going to notice this. And he doesn't, which makes me wonder, what the fuck is he eating during the day that he does not taste blood?
He has what is it, pico, where you just eat like dirt and laundry detergent, stuff like that.
I'm surprised he didn't go into the Bates house basement and just start putting coal into his mouth and just putting it into his corner pocket like it's chewing tobacco or something.
But see, like, this is another scene that is a great example of the loss of subtlety in this movie, because I actually love this scene. And when he started putting his hands in the ice, I even sat on my couch and did a little like, oh no. And then he was reaching around and then he grabs the bloody ice, where in a good suspenseful movie, he would have come very close to it, but maybe not.
He would have become frustrated and thrown it on the ground.
Or, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something like that. Nothing where he would have tasted it or other people would have obviously seen the red liquid on his lips, you know?
Yeah, all of a sudden he puts ice in his mouth and he's got Kool-Aid mouth. And everyone's like, another day wherever the fuck we are. Like, no. That's something you comment on. That's something like, what's going on in that ice chest? But no one ever does.
Now, at McDonald's, wake up to a $4 breakfast meal deal. Wake up to a sausage McMuffin or a sausage biscuit, to hash browns, and wake up to a hot coffee. Get your $4 breakfast meal deal.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
So Duke finds his way to the Bates Motel because everyone who's terrible in this town does. And where we see that it is now in far worse shape than it was in the last film. You know, we have
inexplicably.
Perkins goes out of his way to show us this faded copy of Belly of the Beast, which is prominently displayed in Psycho 2. And now it's lying abandoned in the yard. And so it's directly tying this to the events of the last movie. And then we find Norman, who is doing normal shit, like poisoning birds, then stuffing them using the same stuffing spoon to scoop wood chips. And then he goes like tap, 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 and takes scoops of peanut butter and puts it on Ritz crackers. And again, I wonder, why does no one in this movie taste things?
I mean, he is insane.
Yeah. He is legit cracker barrel in this movie. And so that's a different look at him. So he's showing us a different flavor.
He's showing us his gross side.
Yeah. And that kitchen is disgusting. The kitchen table is just full of dead bird shit. And you're like, that's his diet, is just peanut butter and Ritz crackers and sawdust that you're scooping into dead birds? That just doesn't seem like you're getting all your vitamins and minerals.
Like, whatever happened to his sandwich making skills?
Yeah, he was great at making sandwiches.
Well, I also feel like he visited the diner quite a bit. He was a regular there. And so that was my internal, I guess, solution to all these things. I never felt it was weird that the house looked the way it did. I just felt like Norman was losing it. He felt like his mom was in the room upstairs and everything, and he wasn't taking care of anything, which is why he eventually hired Jeff Fahey to work there. But also, yeah, they all treated him like he came in every day at the diner. So
yeah,
they literally said, Norm.
Now, Maureen Coyle, now unnullified and soaking wet, wanders into that very same diner. And as someone who has been digging deep into depictions of mental health issues on camera, Gina, for a while, it feels like you might be better qualified to evaluate someone who is in my less educated position. I'm just going to call Maureen straight animal crackers.
Yeah, she's Diana Scarwin. And again, I am the number one Mommy Dearest fan.
Yes.
And I think one of the greatest scenes ever set to celluloid was the "because I am not one of your fans" moment. I just think it's every time I'm just like, this is cinema. I love it. I'm so glad this exists. But she is going very much for the what I call the Blanche Dubois ethereal kind of insanity.
Okay,
where she's just sort of, hearing voices and just sort of looking, fragile and like, like sort of like a little broken bird.
Right. We're one glass menagerie away from a lot of monologues from her.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She is aching to give some sort of, I remember when my daddy left me. I waited so long, but he never returned. But it's like, dude, Diana, there's no reason you need to have a deep Southern accent for this role. Oh, fine, I guess.
All right. She kind of exists simply to drive Norman Bates already off his teetering rocker.
Right, because she, her initials are MC. She's an attractive young blonde woman. She's even got the short little haircut
Pixie
and all.
cut,
and yeah. So it's not subtle what they're trying to do here.
Yes,
but I mean, it gives explanation as to why he finds himself drawn to her. Obviously against his own better judgment, should he have any at this point.
Right. In any other movie, she would have been bait. Of course, that other movie would have been Psycho 2, but now she's in Psycho 3 and she's a love interest at a certain point.
The thing that's funny, though, is even though Meg Tilly's character in Psycho 2 is kind of stringing him along as part of this plot to nab him with her mother, I believed in their chemistry more than I believe in the chemistry. Now, again, this is two completely insane people. I get that. But also, the audience is supposed to believe they are genuinely falling for each other and finding safety with each other.
Yeah.
And I don't really buy it.
The only thing I do buy is that because she is just this consistently sparking raw nerve who can't order coffee, she doesn't know how roads work, she has one suitcase full of 1940s dresses, and then she, attempts suicide in the cabin number 1 bathroom, and then mistakes Mother, who's there to dispatch her, for Mother Mary, and not the cool techno one or the 2-person ex-Mormon techno group that actually makes music. Diana Scarwood is just like a type of character here instead of a character, which to me, all the problems I think I had with Psycho 3 are script problems, which is why I find it so bizarre that Perkins was so dedicated. Like, this script just sells itself, baby. All I got to do is make it look good.
You're right. And also, he doesn't rein in his actors enough. And it may be because as a fellow actor, he was just reluctant to do so.
I mean, Scotty, what is your take here on Marion Crane? Oh, I'm sorry, on Maureen Coyle.
Yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of what you were saying, I just felt like she was a very much less interesting version of Meg Tilly's character in Psycho 2. And I thought the whole romantic thing between her and Norman it didn't work at all. Even the date they went on, and then her trying to, probably lose her virginity to him. And he was the more interesting character in that duo by far, because I really did kind of enjoy how he started to give in to Mother, but then he was the one trying to hold back because he cared about this person. That was interesting to me. Her whole part in it wasn't. I mean, like, there's the moment where she is told about Norman's background and his history, and she leaves. And then all of a sudden she has an epiphany, like she can save him or something, and she goes back. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, I agree. I think the compelling element of this is the sort of mutual psychosis of he's so gone, and then instead of taking a life, he saves a life. And he's like, I might be redeemable. And you're like, okay, that is an interesting way to go about this. I still don't quite understand her allure, the allure she finds in him, because he's incredibly off-putting, is always running away from her. And I guess one question I have is Norman, he's definitely on a Kinsey scale. Is he any kind of functional heterosexual? I don't mean this in a evaluate his heterosexuality way, like it's bad or anything for him not to be. But I just don't, he's driven by asexual mania that is really only displayed here for moments and then made fully, on the screen, a component of his character in the 98 version. Whereas I just don't like when they're making out on that bed. I'm like, he doesn't seem to want to do this, and she doesn't seem to want to do this, and I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like I said, they even though quote unquote romance with Meg Tilly was part of a scam. Although again, I think she was kind of confused about how she felt about him after a certain point.
Sure,
which makes the ultimate reveal in her part in all this all the more shocking. Whereas here, Maureen she's basically set up to have a tragic end. Like that is her role. There's no twist to her or anything, no big reveal that she's not who she said she is. But in regards to Norman's sexuality, I mean, I think that, he has, let's call it an academic interest in sex, but when you get down to the actual physical aspects, I think that he just finds it fairly repellent.
Yes.
I feel like when he gets close to any type of sexual feelings for anybody, and in these movies, they're always shown as women, I feel like it's his mother. I feel like there's more of an Oedipal, did I say that right? Oedipal complex?
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Than anything. Not that he's attracted to his mother, but his mother fills him with so much guilt that the moment he starts to get turned on by a woman, he's got his mother talking to him in his head, telling him that this woman is a whore and he has to kill her. So that's where I always felt Norman was at.
I think that's entirely possible, which makes me wonder, is Norman really hung up on Marion Crane 20 plus years later this much that anyone who even approximates what she was, he's just like, all right, it's a one-way street to Boner Drive. And then,
well, I mean, let's now, maybe, putting a lot of my own perception onto it, but, when she talks to him, Marion, that is, she may be the first woman that sort of, it's just a little flirty, but like, she looks him in the eye, she listens to him, and I think that made a huge impression on him. Like, yes. That if not for, how he was raised and how he was mistreated, there could have been some alternate timeline in which they could have been together. And so I think that made that imprinted upon him.
And canonically, as far as we know, outside of poisoning his mother and I believe his stepdad as well, this is the first like full outburst of violence that he actually commits in the 60s Psycho. There's not like a raft of cars filled with bodies in that swamp. It's just her, as far as we know.
Right. So, I mean, like they said, like the saying goes, you never forget your first.
I think you helped me answer that question, because I think, like many people who use violence, his thing is power. And so he doesn't really have power as himself. He only has power via Mother. Mother is how power is manifest in him. And so, yes, he goes all the way with Marion Crane, and he can't bring himself to go all the way with Maureen. So when Mother goes to murder Maureen and finds that she slit her wrist, Norman takes back control and I think finds something that's even a bit of a rush that's at least akin to taking a life and saving a life. So there's a rush there. So I think it's an interesting idea. I don't know that this is the greatest execution of that idea. Again, this is a script problem, not necessarily a direction problem.
Yeah, I would agree. So
then what I think we kind of need to get to here is Duke. Because Duke is such a confounding and interesting individual as a vehicle for storytelling here, because he's yet another sleazebag. And we had a sleazebag in 2. But this is a unique sort of presentation of this idea.
He's kind of an anti-Norman, like the dark Norman. If all because there is no light side to either of them here. So
I do wonder if part of the concept within the scripting process or the development process in calling it Psycho 3, because you could call it anything, but sure, Psycho 3 is that there are, in essence, 3 legitimately insane people involved here. We have Norman, who has a split personality situation. You have Maureen, who has a manic, depressive, out of control personality. And then you have Duke, who is a sociopath to a certain degree. But the way Duke is presented, I found it interesting in the recent Arrow release of Psycho 2, 3, and The Beginning. We have Alexandra Heller-Nichols, who is the same author and documentarian behind Chain Reactions and 1,000 Women of Horror. You'll find them on Shudder. I can't recommend them enough. But she goes into a little bit of a video essay on Psycho 3, stating that the aesthetics of the film are carnivalesque, a literary and cultural concept coined by Michael Baccadan to describe a subversion of dominant social hierarchies, norms, and authority through humor, chaos, and parody that one might have seen in a medieval carnival. And this movie, on some level, is that carnival. It is hedonistic. It is wild in terms of its colors. It's over the top. And Duke is its resident carny. He's shifty. He's a scam on 2 legs. He's always looking for an advantage or a taste of something for free. He's sexy. He's slimy. He's overly attached to his beaten up guitar. And then he's beaten with said guitar. Like, he's a lot to take in. And I don't know that there are a lot of people running around at the time who could have made him come alive to the degree that Fahey does in this movie.
I think this might have been the first movie I'd ever seen him in.
For me, I definitely saw him in Silverado before this. But his Silverado performance definitely provides you with, this is the real fly in the ointment. He is kind of a complete unhinged individual in that. And I can see why, coming off of that, he got offered a lot of that role around town. And when you hear interviews with him talking about this movie, he's like, I was at the stage of my career where I wasn't looking for a type of job. I was happy to have a job. So you bring me Psycho 3, and I'm going to be working with Anthony Perkins, and I'm going to be working opposite an Oscar nominee in Diana Scarwood. I'm saying yes. Like, that sounds like a good time to me, and I get paid on top of it. Let's go. What do you mean you want me to be naked and just hold a lamp in front of my crotch?
All right.
Okay.
Tell me what time to show up on set.
Apparently in the script, it was just a kind of violent sex scene in which, the girl that he's with is kind of thrown up against a wall. And it's kind of like a very physical sex act. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't know that she would be protected. I think it would be weird. And so they dreamt up this light show thing where I'm going to be as naked as she is. And you're going to put on a show for me? Like, okay, sure.
Hey, you know what? He's a girl's guy. I like it.
He's a girl's guy until afterwards, in which he's like, get the fuck out of here.
No, I meant Jeff Fahey himself.
Jeff Fahey.
Not Duke. No, Duke's a scumbag.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 1,000%.
Duke would have no trouble throwing a broad around a room if you told him to.
And then the other component of Duke that I think is coming directly out of that Blood Simple vein is he's tough to kill. You think he's done, and then he's like, well, I got a second wind. And then you think you got him, and then, I came out of that too. And so he's a tough son of a bitch.
Okay, so my question for both of you about Duke is, do you think that after the twist in Psycho 2, do you think at all that they were maybe hoping that the audience would question whether Duke was performing some of the murders?
I wish we had. I think that would have been possible if we had seen more than sexual violence out of him.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I don't think they wanted it to be a repeat of Psycho 2. And for whatever reason, Perkins just didn't feel that Psycho 2 was the kind of story he wanted to tell. So I don't know that he wanted to ape it. He wanted to go in this different direction. I do think it would have been probably more interesting if, in fact, both Bates and Maureen and Duke had blood on their hands. And then it becomes this knockdown, drag out fight for survival amongst three truly damaged individuals. But that's not the movie they ended up making. I can't evaluate it for that.
There is the scene where Duke is standing outside of the motel office, and I think Norman goes into Maureen's room or something. And the way Duke is standing there and he kind of looks up at the house, there was just this feeling like he knows something. And that's when I was thinking, are they trying to maybe set the audience up? I mean, obviously Norman's doing these things, but are they trying to set up that there may be a twist here, but then it's not? I didn't know, and I wasn't sure what Duke was trying to imply that he knew, unless he was just implying that he knew that Norman was crazy. I don't know.
I think because he's been filled in by Tracy, the newspaper lady, that there's all this history that Norman has, and he is constantly looking for the advantage. And the advantage here is, how can I have something over Norman that gets me money? And not just a little cash in my hand, but a nice little nest egg that I can leverage to get myself to Hollywood with.
That makes sense.
He has a financial motive. He is just pretty much, we see him consistently either do things to get sex or money. And that's his motivating drive. Maureen's just entirely unhinged. So yeah, I think that might be because you kind of watched them back to back and are looking for patterns to see what rhymes and what doesn't, which is, normal human behavior. But I don't know that that was ever the intention here. So I don't know that we can evaluate in that way. We do know that when it comes down to it, when Maureen, for reasons I cannot quite articulate, tries to appeal to Norman, hey, whatever's happening here, it doesn't matter. I'm in love with you. And he manages to push her, or Mother does, push her down the stairs. So we get the Psycho tripping down the stair sequence, and she lands the back of her head first into the Cupid's arrow statue on the wall. I think it becomes tragedy and not fun tragedy.
Right.
And then we're running into another weird tonal disconnect here.
Yeah, because we know this character is doomed from the start.
Yeah. And so he's robbed of a connection with another live human being by Mother, because now she's an ongoing force in his life where he'd kind of gotten rid of her in Psycho 2 until he's driven over the edge again. And yeah, it all just becomes a bit more tragic. I'm not entirely sure I can root for Norman. I don't particularly like Maureen is such a tragedy rag. She just soaks it up. I don't know that I'm rooting for her. I don't really want her dead, but I don't know how she can live. And Duke is Duke. Like, he's fun to watch, but you know he's got it coming.
Yeah.
And I also I find the Tracy character like she's coming out of a completely different universe.
Yeah, like, and you're right that you know her sole her sole job is to sort of explain the twist at the end.
Right. Yes, she fills in the psychologist role here, where she's going to tell us exactly what was going on in case you weren't paying attention. So I don't know that ultimately I think this is a very interesting miss to me.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. Yes. Especially if, like, Scotty, you'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it's, you know, I never watched Bates Motel or anything like that. So, but I think if, like, each one of these movies is trying something different.
Yeah.
And I think that, all three of them together, you can't really call it a franchise, but I have not seen 4 in so long that I barely remember it, so I can't really speak for that. But I think you have, almost like Aliens, the Alien movies, different director, each one taking a different approach to it, and I think, this is it's very hit or miss, but I think that it's an amusingly weird movie. Which is why it makes Maureen's death at the end, again, as you say, a little tonally off.
Yes, yeah. I don't like. She's surrounded by candles. It becomes very faux religious. The movie already has a weird relationship with religion overall.
She's like a sacrificial lamb, basically.
Yeah. Anything else we absolutely need to say about Psycho 3?
Well, the only thing I was thinking is that this movie seems to have a very big, not a very big, but kind of a theme of dust. I noticed there's a lot of dust in this movie. Norman falls asleep on his couch, and the couch is covered in dust. And then at the end, when you have the ultimate moment where you think he's going to kill the reporter lady, and he stabs and decapitates his mother instead, there's just all this dust coming up from the mother, even though it's only 2 months after Psycho 2.
Yes. I do like the special effects here of Mother are very interesting. The decayedness of her body doesn't make any fucking sense, but I also don't know how much hollowed out skin filled with sawdust, probably that has an effect on people. I don't know. It's cool to look at, though. But what's also cool is choosing your own death venture. And that's where we decide of the deaths portrayed here. If you were forced to die in one of those ways, which would it be and why? You can have fall through a railing and down the center of a bell tower staircase down below. You could be stabbed while half naked inside of a phone booth, have your throat slashed and stabbed while on the toilet. You can be hit with an ashtray, a lamp, and then a guitar, and ultimately drown in a swamp. or you can accidentally be pushed down the stairs and have the back of your head impaled on Cupid's arrow. Scotty, you're our guest. That means you get to go first.
Oh, yay. Well, I'm definitely going to go with Maureen because anytime I can die exactly like the detective in Psycho 1, even like floating down the stairs as one does when they fall downstairs. And then, I don't know, her death seemed relatively quick. She got impaled on Cupid's arrow and then she was dead. So it seemed fast enough and painless. So I'm going to go with Maureen.
That makes sense. Gina, what say you?
You know, I would have taken Duke's death if it had stopped with him just getting beaten with a guitar. I just think the idea of that is hilarious. Yeah. But I too will pick Maureen's death because I'm a big fan of symbolism. And like Nazareth said, love hurts.
Oh, they said it best, really. Absolutely true. Here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of heights and I don't like falling, and that involves falling. So I think I'm going to go with throat slashed and stabbed on the toilet. Again, I'm just psychically connected to Cat Shea, who would eventually go on to direct Carrie 2, Gina.
Yes, and Poison Ivy.
Yes. So Cat Shea's career. So interesting that we've covered so much of her stuff, including Strip to Kill on our Patreon. And I just before we go any further, when Diana Scarwood gets naked and Norman is peering at her through the hole in the wall and not audibly jacking off like Psycho 98, her body double was genre legend Brinks Stevens. That just about does it. Scotty, where can people see and hear more from you?
They can listen to Fun with Horror on any of the most popular podcast places available. We're also on YouTube, although there's no video, but we're there. But yeah, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the good places. So, and we are bi-weekly. So we're out every other Tuesday.
Excellent. Do it today, everybody. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and pop culture on my newsletter, GinaWatchesThings.ghost.io, and I am mostly on Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Excellent. Subscribe today to screamshare.beehive, that's BEEHIIV.com, to get 3 weekly picks for streaming horror right into your inbox every single Thursday. Don't let that decision paralysis demon keep you down any longer. I've got your back with new, classic, and free to watch horror every single week. Of course, you can find us various places on the internet, on Instagram, Facebook, Discord, on Threads, and on Blue Sky. All those places you can reach out. You can listen or talk back to us on YouTube, Spotify, rate and review us on Apple iTunes. It helps us be seen and heard by more people. And of course, the t-shirt shop link is down below, including our Patreon link where you can get bonus episodes, 3 every single month. That just about does it. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself, for Gina and Scotty, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.